All right, good evening. The regular meeting of the Independent School District 279 School Board is called to order at 6 o'clock p.m. on December 13th, 2022. This regular business meeting of the Osseo School Board is being conducted in the boardroom of the Educational Service Center. The meeting can be monitored electronically by streaming online from the district website. An archived recording of tonight's meeting will also be available on the district website. Seated in front of you this evening from my left to your right are Director Heather Douglas, Director Thomas Brooks, Director Jackie Mosqueda-Jones, myself, Kelsey Dawson-Walton, Director Tanya Simons, and Director Tam McGrady. Also present in the boardroom is Superintendent McIntyre, and our student school board reps. Mawada and Priya are not able to join us this evening, but Linnea Nolander from Osseo Senior High and Timur Yusanov from Maple Grove Senior High are with us tonight, and cabinet members Tim Palmatier, Laurel Anderson, Brian Severson Hall, Steve Flisk, and Anthony Paternos are also present. Other cabinet members will come to the boardroom as needed for agenda items. So those of you can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, board members, are there any additions to the agenda? Is there a motion to accept the agenda as printed? Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, sorry. What?
Who moved?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Is it? Yeah.
I'll move.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Motion by Director Brooks, seconded by Director Simons to accept the agenda as printed. Motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. Our next agenda item is recognitions, and we're so happy and proud to highlight the accomplishments. It's something that we started recently. And so after I make the introduction of the first recognition, I'll ask the board members and Superintendent McIntyre and student board representatives to join me in the front of the dais so we can offer our congratulations. So our first recognition is the Maple Grove Senior High girls golf team with the second place at the state tournament. Coach Randy Glassman, please step up to the podium and introduce us to your team who are able to be with us tonight. So everybody else, let's go to the front.
We good to go? All right. Good evening. I'm Coach Randy Glassman. I've been involved with the school district since 1970. I taught at Northview Junior High for 30 years, and I've been the golf coach at the high school when it opened in the school year of 96-97. Long time. Hopefully I have a few more years left in me. Last year was my 26th season. I'd like to thank assistant coaches Mark Metcalf and Sam Bostrom for their work with the entire team. Unfortunately, they're not able to be here tonight. Thank you for recognizing the 2022 varsity golf team. This varsity team has 21 seasons of experience. Divide that by 6, some with 5 going on 6, and some with 1 season going on 2. Our runner-up finish to Alexandria at the state tournament was a well-deserved culmination of our 22nd 2022 season. Getting to the state tournament is always a challenge, and we had an amazing record of wins. We were undefeated in all 6 of our 9-hole matches. We have 7 teams in our half of the Northwest Suburban Conference. We placed first in the conference and mid-season tournaments, which contained 13 teams. And also we won the we won the conference championship with 13 teams, and I believe we won that first place by about 60 strokes, something in that neighborhood. We also finished second in the 2021 state tournament, also to Alexandria, and I'm so proud of these girls and so glad to present them tonight. We hope that maybe this is the season that we can upset Alexandria, and all 6 of our varsity players that are here tonight will be returning to the team. But we also have a very talented group of junior varsity and additional varsity players coming on board for the next season. And we always get a few surprises with some new players, and it's always a challenge to find enough places for them to play. I'd like to present our 2022 season, and when I call your name, please come forward to the front here and I'll hand your certificate to you. Peyton Anderson, Maple Grove Middle School. Just see here just a second, okay? She's the newest and youngest member of our team. I think you've grown a little bit since last spring. It's one I can't have to look up when I see the players, but I still have someone that maybe is a little shorter than me, not by much. But I'd say it was quite an accomplishment to be a varsity player as a 7th grader, and I'm looking so forward to watching you mature and improve over the next 5 seasons. Congratulations. Now you can go and shake hands. I'm more nervous than they are. All right. Carly Hammond, please come forward. Oh, you don't get 2. Congratulations. Why are your hands sweaty? And Carly joined the team as an 8th grader, correct? So 8th and 9th, you'll be a sophomore this coming season? Okay, I just have to get all my stats correct. Carly has worked hard on her game, and she's also been noted for teaching me dance steps at practice. But when I showed them the cha-cha or polka steps, I said, go home and ask your parents if I ever did those dances. Most of them came back and said, no, they didn't know about that. So we'll work harder this year with dance steps. Thank you, Carly, and congratulations. Amelia Morton, step on up. Congratulations. Amelia has been on the team for 4 seasons. That means she started as a 7th grader. She's a junior this coming spring. And at the state tournament, she and McKenna Hogan tied for the team low total with a 2-day total of 159 strokes, which comes out to a 79.5 average on a very difficult golf course. And Amelia's always working on her game, and I know she's played in a lot of invitationals and other tournaments during the summer. So the good players just keep getting better. Congratulations. And her sidekick, McKenna Hogan, come up please. There you go. Oh, squeeze hard. There you go. McKenna has also completed her 4th season on the team. She turned in solid performances at all of our regular matches as well as at the state tournament with her tying Amelia for that low team total of 159. All right, you may pass down the congratulatory line there. Hey, Julia Contreras. Congratulations. At one time, we had 3 Contreras players on the team. Their older sister, Lauren, is now a sophomore at St. Thomas University. Oh, turn the page. So, Julia's a senior. She's been on the team for 5 seasons, going for her 6th. She's a positive role model for the younger players, and good luck to you as you complete your final season and continue your golf experience after you graduate. You're welcome. And Maria Contreras. There you go. Maria is also a senior. You kind of maybe notice the resemblance. I'm still trying to figure it out. Maria and Julia do bring an end to the Contreras clan with their final senior year. And it's been just a treat to coach Maria and Julia. I wish you all the best as you extend your interest in golf. You will be missed. In closing, I'd like to recognize the parents and relatives who have followed the girls at the matches, provided transportation, and even brought treats and fresh strawberries and all kinds of goodies. We really appreciate that, and we hope that that will continue next season. So congratulations to our varsity team, and thank you for this award. Okay. Oh, picture time. Bring them in.
Come on, girls. We're not done yet.
We're a very photogenic group.
I can see that.
Thing in front. Be in the right order. I don't know, just stand.
Congratulations, you guys. All right. Next up, we have the Maple Grove Senior High School football team, the 2022 6-8 champions, state champions. Coach Lombardi and team captain Hunter Gerber.
Well, first of all, thanks for, this is exciting. I have failed on this miserably. Last week we won it. It was unbelievable, and then I had to coach in an all-star game. They asked me in June. I was the head coach for the all-star game, so I stayed in the DoubleTree from like Tuesday through with about 60 more kids, and it was a great experience. And Ricardo sent me the email for this on Wednesday, which strangely enough is 3 pages removed back. We've gotten a lot of congratulations over these weeks that these kids did an unbelievable job, so that's nice. The second thing probably you're looking at with concern is I do have lightning bolts on the side of my head. And that our team decided to design their hair a little bit throughout the playoffs, and the deal last year, they dyed their hair blonde. And the deal both years was if we win it at the school when we get back, you can do whatever you want. And so these are lightning bolts of victory. I wear them proudly, and that is why I look pretty professional at this point. It's been a special year. I think last year, if you guys recall, we did make the Prep Bowl and we lost in a wonderful game. It was heartbreaking, but two really good teams went at it. And this senior class will go down in history for our school. The fact they got to play 26 games in 2 years is something really special. That's the best you can do. And they're really a special group. The parts people don't realize is in the state of 6A schools, the big schools, we had the second highest GPA as a complete team with 83 kids. We had to put them all in. And for 83 players, our team average was a 3.41. And so we are a gold member academic all-state team as well. And when you're a champion in one thing, you're usually a champion in everything. And these kids emulate that. The second thing, we had our banquet last night. It was a 4.5-hour banquet. It was long. And I'm not exaggerating. It was legit. But and we had 46 seniors, and we celebrate each senior individually and make them come up, and we talk about them, and because they've earned that right. And we have figured out that this group of kids that Hunter has been a captain for and has led, I don't know if this might be abuse on my part, but they when they started their winter as juniors going into their junior year, we figured out, and he's in baseball. By the way, this is Hunter Gerber. He's going to go play baseball at Minnesota Duluth, and so he's talented in many aspects. But from that time on, we figured out that over the next 101 weeks of their life, that these kids have been together with something we're doing for 86 of those weeks. And he made a comment that I thought was awesome. As soon as I said that, he goes, "Yeah, in the other 15 weeks we were together too." And so what yesterday was about, what I'm proudest about this group is obviously we were able to climb the mountain. It was fun to get to that stage where we were in the 13-0 state champion. That's very unique. But what was special last night and why there were tears and stuff is you got a group of boys that they forever will be a family, and they've come together in ways that it's indescribable to see relationships these kids have formed and what they have become as teammates and what they've become as brothers. And I teared up because we had 5 kids that were fortunate enough to have recruiters come over to the school, and I was sitting in there listening, and the recruiter asked all of them, he's like, "I just want you to, what's your favorite part of football, or what are you going to miss the most, and what's been your best experience of high school football?" And each kid separately, not one of them said we won a championship. All they said was, "It's the brotherhood I have with my teammates, and the love I have for them, and what this has meant for me." And so what I think is these kids will forever be Crimson. They forever will be obviously a bond for what I said, the beauty of what they accomplished Friday night and what you're going to accomplish as a golf team as you kick Alexandria's tail is that they forever will be state champs. And we've said that kind of that, and parents will get sick of it probably, but 30 years from now they're going to be talking about it. And they're going to be hanging together, but they've learned a valuable lesson that they're great in the classroom, they're great in the public, they're great in the community, they're great with people. And I've been blessed for the last however many years to have these kids, and they're wonderful men. And so I'm glad to have Hunter here as my captain that came with us. We have 83 others that are just as impressive. And it was good to get to the top of the mountain because they worked their butts off to get there, and they earned it. And they've created something that will last a lifetime. And so thank you again for having us up here. We are exceptionally proud of what we were able to accomplish as a team, but I'm more proud of what these boys are going to become because it's going to be awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Stay for a picture. Okay, picture quick.
Yeah, you bet. Where am I standing? Oh, yeah. It's like we're at prom. No, that's good.
Congratulations. All right, it's so exciting to do these recognitions, and some of these kids I've known since my own daughter was like in 2nd grade, so it's really cool to see them now. All right, our next agenda item is student school board representative reports. Linnea, will you please share your report?
All right, hello, my name is Linnea Neldner, and I am the OSSEO representative. One of the fun things I can share is we recently had a snow day, which was quite fun and amusing because suddenly all the kids wearing Crocs have the wrong footwear. You can see kids using their arms to wipe off their window shields. And my sister is also one of the people wearing Crocs, so she had to suffer while I had boots. Along with the snow, we are also having our winter break starting on the 21st. And with that, we have an ugly sweater contest that I will be winning on December 21st as well. We've started a new little trend where we hide Ori, that's our mascot, a tiny little bird somewhere in the school, and whoever finds it gets candy. So I'm hoping that's me. We're continuing finding our scholarships, including the Wallen and the MOE 123. The Bridge Mobile Youth Outreach Center, long name, also stopped by, which is a group, a voluntary group that comes and supports the LGBTQ community, and they offer things like binders and foods and other resources for people who might not have those kind of things. So I know I have stopped by, and they're incredibly nice. Along with the homelessness, we've also had the OSSEO United talk about that with their monthly meetings. And we also had the CCX News come in today, and they talked about the ASL class we have going on. So this is our first time doing this. It was a class that was offered this year, and it's for 2 trimesters, and it is connected with the North Hennepin Community College, and it has Mr. Martinez teaching the class for American Sign Language. And I actually take that class, and it is quite nice because it's a reach into a new sort of connection and a way of communication as opposed to Spanish or Arabic. So it's quite nice. And I also wanted to say goodbye to Kelsey, who will not be on the board anymore, but I really like you, and I hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Timur, will you please share your report?
Hello, my name is Timur Yusinov, and I am the student representative of Maple Grove. So things have slowed down over the past few weeks as fall seasons begin to end and we approach winter break. The 2nd trimester has started and students are preparing to finish up their Common Apps and wait for the responses from colleges. Our school, meanwhile, has installed common areas for students to use near their hallways. This includes tables, couches, and chairs for students to use as communal gatherings or study areas as they wait for clubs to start up. This week at our school, Spirit Week for the holidays has taken full swing, where today specifically, students wore ugly or crazy socks, while tomorrow, people plan on wearing white or blue sweaters with lights. Our student government has decided to host a movie after school today showing Elf. It was a really fun experience. I have not seen that movie in a long time. Can't say I like it. Competitive teams have also all ended their seasons on very strong notes, with our school's girls golf team placing second at state, and in track, Jordan Borsch placing third in the 200-meter dash and winning state championship for the 100-meter dash. Our debate team season has ended this past weekend, so as a humble brag, I, along with my partner, Seth DeRusha, placed first place undefeated at national qualifiers, and we are now starting to work towards a state tournament. Another major accomplishment was greatly achieved by our football team, placing first place and claiming the 2022 state championship title. It was hosted over at the US Bank Stadium, and it was a great event for all the students of Maple Grove to witness and partake in. School spirit is still as strong as ever, if not more, thanks to the great strides being made at our school. We hope to have a great winter break soon and an even greater transition into the second half of the school year. I also want to thank Kelsey Dawson-Walton for being so generous in creating this opportunity for us, student representatives, to be able to express and share our views and represent our school. It is truly such a wonderful opportunity for all of us to partake in, and you're truly a wonderful and nice presence for all of us, and it has made it much easier.
Aw.
So thank you.
Thank you, guys. That means so much to me. Thank you so much. All right, the student representatives reviewed the board meeting packet in advance and are prepared to answer questions from board members and issues to seek student input related to agenda items for this evening's meeting. Board members, do you have agenda items for which you'd like student input on?
I have a general question. So tonight we're hearing a presentation on our Vision Card D. And I'm wondering if you had any insights or thoughts on the presentation when you look through it. It's a lot, it's really heavy with a lot of data, but just wondering if there was anything.
I do not currently have any insight on that.
I also do not have any insight on the Vision Card.
All right. Anybody else? We're good? All right. Thank you both so much. This is great. Yes. So proud of you both, so thank you. Okay. John Morstead, Executive Director of Finance and Operations, will now provide a presentation for the Truth and Taxation hearing and public comment and question agenda item.
All right, well, I guess all those presentations on excellence were a lovely lead into talking about your property taxes. So I appreciate you all staying with me for that. Thank you, Chair Dawson-Walton, Superintendent McIntyre, and board members. On the agenda this evening is the approval of the preliminary levy limitation for taxes payable in 2023. A state statute requires that school board certify the preliminary levy limitation by September 30th of each year, which the board did at the meeting on September 27th. The purpose of the approval was to provide information to the Hennepin County Auditor so that proposed tax statements can be prepared and mailed to all taxpayers by November 23rd. Before approval of the final levy certification that will take place this evening, a hearing needs to take place between November 25th and December 28th with very specific rules and content requirements. So our agenda today, in order to accomplish these requirements, includes a background information on the district's 2023 budget, the current fiscal year, along with actual financial results from the previous fiscal year. This will be followed by information on the district's proposed tax levy for taxes payable in 23. And at the end of the presentation, the public will have the opportunity to provide any comments or ask questions. First, we'll give some background information about public school funding. Minnesota State Constitution includes the duty of the legislature to establish a system of public schools. The local property tax is one of the mechanisms that the state legislature uses to fund public education. As a result, public funding is highly regulated. Revenue formulas, tax policies, and the tax levy process are established through state law. Some other pertinent information about school funding. Over the past 21 years, state aid through general education revenue formula, which is the main source of school district revenue, has not kept up with the rate of inflation. If with inflation considered, the per pupil allowance would have needed to increase by an additional $1,263 per pupil, or 18.4%, over this current time period. For this particular school year for Osseo area schools, that equates to $28 million. The chart here shows the dotted orange lines as the increase to the funding formula, and the blue line is the adjusted for inflation line using the Consumer Price Index. This underfunding has forced districts to lean on local operating levies to make up that shortfall. For fiscal year 21, which is the most recent year we have financial data on special education expenditures, Osseo area schools was underfunded by just over $20 million, again with those funds having to be covered by the general fund. A key point about the tax levy is that increases or decreases in the school levy do not necessarily translate into changes in the school district's budget. State-determined formulas and voter approval creates limits for the tax levy. Some increases are offset by reductions in state aid, and expenditure budgets are limited by and established through separate processes. Thus, an increase in school taxes does not always correlate to an increase in the school district's expenditure budget. While taxpayers will see their tax statements, the levied amounts for cities, counties, and school districts, we run on different budget cycles. So this chart illustrates the city and county budgets in the same year that they levy taxes, where the school district have to approve tax levies in December and are utilizing that revenue in the next fiscal year, which runs from July 1 to June 30th. So the levy conversation tonight includes revenue for the 23-24 school year for the fiscal year starting on July 1 of 2023. So now we're going to move into the 23 budget information. The school district budgets with several different funds as listed on this slide. The budget for the majority of K-12 operations lies within the general fund, which also includes transportation and capital. Other funds that apply to our levy are the community service fund and the debt service funds. Just of note here, a couple of things. The internal service funds, of which we have 4, include a dental self-insurance, medical self-insurance, retirement incentive pay, and post-employment benefits. The custodial funds, the 2 noted here, are our local collaborative time study, or LCTS, and also the Northwest Family Suburban Service Center Cooperative. Okay, so the first columns show the beginning fund balances from fiscal year 2022, which ended on June 30th of 22. The next 2 columns show our actual revenue and expenditures for that same year, followed by our ending fund balances as of June 30, 2022. These results were presented to the board by our audit firm, MMKR, at the November regular board meeting. The 3 blue columns represent our budget for the current year, with revenues, expenditures, and projected fund balances. So you can see we're currently projecting to deficit spend by just under $18 million this year across all our funds, utilizing our current fund balances to cover that additional cost. This pie chart shows Osseo Schools' projected revenue for all funds. The total budgeted revenue for fiscal year 2023 is about $392.7 million. Next, I'm going to provide a little bit of detail on the blue portion of the chart, which is the general fund, which makes up a little over 80% of our total revenue. This chart shows revenue sources for the general fund. As again mentioned, it's just over 80%. The fund's revenue comes from 4 main sources. With state aid, both general state aid in the orange section and special education, the green section, make up about 71% of the revenue. And then property taxes, which are the dark blue section, make up just under 17%. Federal revenues in purple make up 9.7%, and the other section, which is that kind of light teal color, is about 1.7%. Looking at our expenditures in the general fund, we break them down a couple different ways. This look is broken down by object categories. So it's kind of the 5 key areas that we charge expenditures to. Education, as you know, is a very people-intensive industry, and as a district, we spend 84 cents of every dollar that is spent goes to pay for people within our district, which includes the salaries and benefits of those who are delivering our educational services and support school district operations. This chart shows our general fund expenditures by program. Most expenditures directly support students through regular special ed, vocational instruction, instructional support, and transportation services. Now we'll move from the budget to discuss the proposed tax levy for taxes payable in 2023, broken down into the 4 areas listed here. Every owner of taxable property pays property taxes for various taxing jurisdictions, including counties, city or township, school district, and special districts, in which their property is located. Each taxing jurisdiction sets its own tax levy based on limits set in state law. The county, Hennepin County in our case, sends out bills, collects taxes from property owners, and distributes funds back to taxing jurisdictions, including our school district. This is a sample of what your property tax statement may look like. The yellow area highlighting the school section, the other parts are what we just talked about. It will show each taxing jurisdiction and the corresponding tax information. Each school district may levy taxes in over 40 different categories. Levy limits, or the maximum amount the school can levy for each category, are set either by state law or voter approval. Minnesota Department of Education calculates detailed levy limits for each public school district. The key steps are outlined on the next slide, and any of these steps may affect the taxes on any parcel of a property, but the district only has control of one of the 6 steps. We reviewed these limits with the school board when the preliminary levy was set in September, on the 27th of September. So here's the 6 steps. Starting with step 1, the city or county assessor determines an estimated market value for each parcel of property in the county. Legislature sets formulas for tax capacity. These formulas determine how much of a tax burden will fall on the different types of properties. County auditor will calculate tax capacity for each parcel of property in the county, as well as the total tax capacity for each school district. The Minnesota Department of Education calculates detailed levy limits for each school district based on formulas approved by the legislature. Step 5, the school board will adopt a proposed levy in September based on levy limits set in the previous step. And a truth in taxation hearing takes place, and the board will adopt a final levy, which cannot exceed proposed levy amounts from September unless voters approve additional amounts, which in our case they did, and thank you. Step 6, the county auditor will determine taxes for each parcel based on the approved levies from each taxing jurisdiction. This is the schedule of events that establish the payable 23 tax levy. So tonight we're holding the public hearing, and the board is scheduled to take action on the final levy later this evening. State law requires that we explain the reasons for major increases in the overall levy. The total proposed tax levy for taxes payable in 2023 is increasing by 22.3%, or $22,757,702 over the 22 tax levy. This slide, I know this is small print, so I'll highlight the big areas, but just so you see all of it. This slide shows the line items of the levy with the 3 funds that have a tax levy revenue component. The funds include the general fund, of which capital fund is included as well, community service fund, and the debt service fund. So for instance, you don't see food service fund on this because there's no tax levy component to the revenue in the food service fund. The first column of numbers show the levy items for each line item last year. The second column shows the proposed tax levy for taxes payable in 23. And the third column indicates the increase or decrease in that line item. And then finally, the percentage change by fund for the total district is indicated in the last column. Next we'll look over several slides to explain the items that have changed notably. So starting with the general fund, the operating levy, which is a voter-approved levy, this levy increased by $13,276,166. This is primarily due to the additional authority granted by our voters in November and inflationary adjustments over previous estimates, and then also projected increases in enrollment. Capital projects levy, also known as the technology levy, is proposed to increase by $6,840,540. Again, this increase is attributed primarily due to additional authority granted by voters in November and the increase in the overall tax base of the school district. This levy is determined as a percentage of that tax base. Thus, as the tax base increases, the levy amount will increase. There are changes to both the general fund portion of long-term facility maintenance, or LTFM, as well as the debt service portion of LTFM. The school district strives to coordinate the capital and debt levies with other levies to maintain as level of a tax rate as possible. For taxes payable in '23, while there's an increase in LTFM funding in the general fund, you will see a significant decline in the debt service fund due to debt items that have been retired. And prior year adjustments, this is an area in which estimates are used when the levy is originally set, and then are updated retroactively to adjust to reflect the actual data. This includes enrollment updates and expenditure adjustments. So if enrollment or certain expenditures come in lower than was expected in previous years, you may see a negative adjustment to the current levy. If it's higher, you'd see an increase. Finally, the debt excess. The state requires that we levy 105% of our debt service payment amounts to cover any possible delinquencies in tax collections. Generally, delinquencies are less than 5%, so over time the district builds up a bit of a fund balance. Formulas in state statute determine how much may be used to reduce future debt service payments. We are not using any debt excess in the current year, so the change you see is the difference from using that $1.4 million last year. While changes in the dollar amount of the levy provided through funding formulas can cause a tax bill for an individual property to increase or decrease, there are other factors also involved, including changes in the value of an individual property and changes in the value of all property in the district. The following slides are tables and graphs showing examples of changes in school district portions of property taxes from taxes payable from 2019 through 2022. The examples here were prepared by the district's financial advisor, Ehlers and Associates. All examples on the first slide are based on a 0% increase in property value over the 4-year period, and then we'll also touch on what it looks like when there was a 26.5% increase in property value, which is what the calculated value has been over that same time period. This chart shows that tax impact for properties with no change in the overall value of the last 4 years. And I'm going to get into a little detail here with it. So this first slide looks at the property tax changes for a $250,000 home and a $400,000 home with no change in property value. So as you're looking at the chart, the taxes are actually decreasing in each column because the value stayed the same. In this case, you're looking at a $250,000 home seeing an increase of $95 to their current taxes, and a $400,000 home would see an increase of $153. If your property value for some reason didn't change over the last 4 years, you would have been slowly seeing a decrease in property taxes until the voter approved pieces here that we're presenting are kicking in for next year. If you're looking at that same information on commercial property and apartment, about $1 million commercial property or apartment property would increase by right around $407. Now, to show you comparatively, it was estimated that in those last 4 years, property values on average have gone up 26.5%. So while your taxes being applied to you are the same, that increase of the 95 or 153 in these two cases, you see the value of your property change over those 4 years. So when we're looking at this and saying, it's $95 for a $250,000 home. If you go back 4 years, the value of that home is $197,000. So it's increased to get up to that. At its heart, tax impact really depends on the change in value for each individual property and how that property relates to the total property values within the whole district. So I have a better visualization of what that is. The easiest way to explain what happens to property is to visualize a pie. So think of the total district levy as the entire pie, with each property being a sliver paying their piece of that pie. So here's a simplified example. The district contains 2 houses, one orange and one blue. Both houses are valued at $100,000. The school district has a total levy of $500. Each house would pay half, $250. If the orange house's value increases by 10%, and the blue house's value increases by 25%, so now the orange house is valued at $110,000 and the blue house is valued at $125,000. Say the blue house finished their basement, as an example. The district still generates the same amount of levy. We're still looking for $500. But now the orange house is paying $234, which is a decrease of $16. And the blue house is paying $266, which is an increase of $16. Because property taxes vary and can especially vary property to property, the state has provided 3 different relief programs that are available for property owners to provide some relief options. The first is the homestead credit refund, which you can see the detail on here. The second is a special property tax refund. That one is triggered if your increase is over 12% and that's more than $100. And then finally, there is a senior citizen property tax deferral where citizens over age 65 are allowed to, with income less than $60,000, are allowed to defer a portion of their property taxes to make it flat and stable. But ultimately, when the property sells, those taxes have to come due. More information on this program can be found at the state website, which is revenue.state.mn.us. The last item is to allow public comment on the proposed tax levy that the board will take action on later in the meeting, and so I will turn it back over to Chair Dawson Walt to facilitate any comments.
Okay, does anybody have any public comment? If you do, you can please step forward. Okay, I'm gonna ask one more time. If anybody has any public comment, you can please step forward to the microphone. Okay, thank you, John. We will move on to the next agenda item. The next agenda item is audience opportunity to address the school board. I'll review a few of the guidelines for those that will speak to the board. During audience opportunity to address the school board, I will call on each speaker who has submitted a speaker card. We ask that speakers keep their comments to 3 minutes. The board does not take action or discuss matters during this portion of the meeting. Speakers may be referred to the superintendent or staff if follow-up is necessary. The complete guidelines for public participation are provided on the meeting materials table and on the school board section of the district website. When I call your name, please come to the microphone and state your name, your topic, and also state whether or not you are a district resident. Shelley Silman. This is the order.
All right. I am Shelley Silman. I work at Osseo Senior High. I am a district employee, a district resident, so both. And my topic is about safety, staffing concerns, and upcoming contract negotiations. So good evening. As I said, my name is Shelley Silman. I'm a special education teacher at Osseo Senior High. This is my 16th year in the district, and while every year presents different challenges, tonight I'm speaking to the overwhelming workload, high class sizes, and special ed caseload sizes, physical assaults happening in our school to both staff and other students, and the lack of accountability and consequences, not to mention the teacher shortage and ESP shortage. I'm here tonight waving a white flag of surrender. I was going to make a cute little white flag, but I didn't have time. This flag is symbolic of the teachers who have already left the profession, ESPs who have left because they aren't earning a living wage, teachers who will retire earlier than planned, and for the ones who are so broken down that they might leave next week, next month, or at the end of the school year. When I go to work, I shouldn't expect to end up in the ER for a neck injury due to an aggressive student. I also shouldn't expect to spend a handful of days already this year crying because it's all just too much. But this is the reality of being a teacher, which is a sad statement in and of itself. I am standing here tonight because I'm not too proud to beg. The ESP, AESP, Kids Stop, and Nurses Group is under contract negotiations, and the teacher group will soon be negotiating. I am begging for you to negotiate a respectable contract for the ESPs that we so desperately need to serve our students. ESPs should not have to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. Their work in our district is important, and they have been underpaid for years. Please do better for them. They deserve better, and our students deserve better. The 70-plus ESP openings is evidence that there is low incentive to work in the district as an ESP. I implore you to consider giving special education teachers daily due process time as you negotiate the next contract. While I know there is a nationwide teacher shortage, Please consider the burnout and mental health of your existing hard-working teachers who have an overabundance of due process
30
paperwork
seconds remaining.
and in many cases, 1 foot already out the door. Lastly, for the safety, security, and success of all students and staff, I call on you to consider class size limits and caseload size limits. This is historically one issue that the district will never bend on during negotiations, but I'm pleading with you to do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Montero.
Hello, my name is Amy Montero. I am a district employee and a resident. I'm just here to thank Chair Dawson Walton, so I will be short and sweet. My name is Amy Montero. I am a passionate educator in our district. I am dedicated to equity and making sure that all of our scholars and their families feel seen and heard. I am also a parent of 2 scholars in the district, as well as an extremely active community member. I am here to personally thank Chair Dawson Walton for her service and dedication. Our community is better because you are a part of it. Our district is better because of your thoughtfulness and actions. Your loss is a great injustice to our scholars. I am here with some of my fellow community members to say that we are dedicated to continuing to hold the board accountable to continue your vision and plan. So thank you, Chair Dawson Walton.
Thank you. Lauren Nowak, am I saying that right? Yes. Okay.
All right. I'm short. It works. All right. Hello and good evening. My name is Lauren Nowak. I'm here to discuss transportation. I'm a mother of 2, former District 279 employee, as well as a K-12 District 279 student and graduate. I currently live and pay taxes within the district. Before we delve into the details on transportation, let me tell you about my son, Colton. Colton is an amazing, caring, and courageous young 4-year-old that attends class Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoons at Arborview. He has an IEP, Individualized Learning Plan. He is delayed in speech, and very few people understand him when he speaks. He has a bleeding disorder, sensory issues, and wears orthotics. He is not your average child. He requires a bit more help and looking after. I take the care, welfare, and safety of my children very seriously, and I thought that this district did as well. But I'm having a harder and harder time believing that when it comes to his transportation. On both Wednesday, September 21st, and Friday, October 14th, Colton was not picked up for school. When his drivers were questioned by his teachers, the bus drivers' responses were that they were not aware and that they never knew that anybody needed to come and retrieve him. 2 different drivers have forgotten my child. After the second occurrence, I sent emails to the school board members, Superintendent McIntyre, Transportation Director, as well as other transportation staff to discuss this. I received responses from Superintendent McIntyre, the head of transportation the next morning, and 2 of the school board members, Heather Douglas and Tanya Simmons, for which I am very grateful that I did actually get responses. After numerous calls and meeting with Colton's new pickup driver, he has been able to get to school on time. But coming home is a completely different story. There have been many days which I have received messages from his teacher that there is no buses for him. He'll be anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes late just leaving the school because there's no buses to even get him out of the school parking lot. Twice he's arrived home more than 40 minutes after his drop-off time. On December 6th, much to my astonishment, I was asked by the driver to just come on the bus and tell her which one was mine. He was not the only student on that bus at that time. With this last incident, I want you to tell me what would have happened if somebody said a child was theirs that wasn't. Are parents even supposed to get on the bus? What protocols are in place that would have kept my child, who, let me remind you, is 4 special needs and is unable to communicate efficiently, safe
30 seconds remaining.
if somebody else would have tried to take him? Just yesterday, he got off the bus with tears because it was more than 30 minutes past his drop-off time. What's happening is traumatizing to my child, and I can only assume that he is not the only one that's suffering, due to the lack of consistency regarding transportation of the most vulnerable students. I'm aware of the shortage of bus drivers, the catalytic converter thefts, that we all have lives, jobs, and demands can be overwhelming, but this can't be an excuse. Those things can't be an excuse. So I ask that you guys work to find a solution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica Westberg. Sure. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Westberg, and I am a parent in the district. I have 6 children, 4 of whom have already graduated from Maple Grove High School. I only have 2 babies left. One is in 10th grade at Maple Grove High School, and the other is in 6th grade at Maple Grove Middle School. I'm here tonight, not at my usual, a lot of you know me as a person that complains a lot and has a lot of negative things to say about the district. I'm not doing that tonight, I promise. I'm here to thank Kelsey Dawson Walton for her years of loyal service to Osseo area schools. As a Black woman who is in the workforce, I know what it's like to go to a workplace and face microaggressions and disrespect and sometimes outright racism. I've seen that happen to you, Kelsey, and I've seen you lead with grace time after time. Thank you so much for being a person who always fought for my children. My Black children, my gay children, my non-binary children, my football kid, who also played on Coach Lombo's team, and they only went to the quarterfinals his senior year, but still, so excited to see that victory. My cheerleader, my orchestra kids, my theater kids, my kids who are gifted academically, my kids who struggled in school, my kids who were popular, my kids who felt like outcasts. One thing I always knew for sure is that Kelsey always had the best interest of my babies in the forefront of her mind and always fought with dignity for what she believed was best for our kids. I am deeply saddened because the hole that you will leave is unmeasurable. And I only hope that the incoming board will fight as hard for my babies on the fringe as you have. Thank you.
Michelle Fisher.
I think it's fair to go when you're crying. Okay. Greetings, Superintendent McIntyre, Chair Dawson Walton, directors, cabinet, and community members. My name is Michelle. Many of you know me already. I am a District 279 resident, parent, and special education teacher in a Setting 3 program. And first, I want you to know I'm not always up here to complain. I do have joy in my classroom. I do enjoy parts of my job, but I have some things to tell you. It's my understanding that tonight you'll be reviewing a consultation proposal to improve effectiveness and efficiency of special education services provided in our school district. I believe that this proposal picks up where DMG left off with their suggestions and findings. When I scan through this proposal, I don't see any immediate support or action items that will reduce workload, increase resources, improve communication, and/or collaborative opportunities for our special services staff. Nor do I see anything about due process time being allocated for all staff required to write due process paperwork with state-mandated legal deadlines. To give you a glimpse of just one teacher's workload, in the past few weeks, I will attend 5 IEP meetings and write 7 IEPs. 2 of those meetings I couldn't attend because of scheduling conflicts. 3 simultaneous special education reevaluations due within days of one another, which are 20 to 30 page documents. 2 behavior support plans to modify and complete, along with those evaluations and IEPs. Progress reports for 20 students, end of trimester 1 grades, and all of this is in addition to designing, planning, and implementing daily lessons for 5 different life skills classes. While I'm hopeful that the data collected in this proposal will lead to action items that finally send a life raft to special education teachers, related service providers, and ESPs, we're at a critical stage and need support now. I'm certain that all of you are aware of the following job openings listed in our district website, but I'm going to review them anyway. 11 licensed special education teaching positions, 1 RN, 4 LPN, 1 substitute nurse, 1 school psychologist, 3 social workers, 2.5 speech language pathologists, and 68 education support professionals. This is my 6th year as a special education teacher. Each year I hope and pray that with more experience, my job will get easier, that somehow I will be able to find and achieve work-life balance.
remaining.
Unfortunately, I haven't found this to be true. We work short-staffed and under-resourced every single day, and our caseloads and the needs of our students are increasing every year. Those of us left standing are carrying the load for the staff who jumped ship already. We are exhausted. We give everything to be the best for our students every day. The perceived expectation that we can carry on like this and that everything is just fine is simply not true. While this public comment is staff-centered, I want to be clear that I ultimately have my students in mind and always put them first.
Time.
However, running on fumes alone is not sustainable. Currently, contract negotiations are underway for all hourly staff, including kids staff, nurses, AESPs, and ESPs. What actions are you willing to take right now to support and retain those critical and dedicated staff while recruiting new staff, because Osseo is the district of choice? Thank you.
Thank you. Jess Stewart.
Good evening. My name is Jess Stewart. I'm an educator in this district, formerly at Osseo Senior High and now at 279 Online. I would like to take a minute this evening to honor Chair Dawson Walton for her selfless and tireless service to Osseo area schools. Most educators are likely familiar with Rita Pearson's TED Talk, Every Child Needs a Champion. In her speech, she talks about the value and importance of connections and relationships. She speaks of how all scholars can achieve amazing things when they are empowered to believe in their own abilities and in their own sense of agency. Cultivating these relationships doesn't happen randomly. It was under Chair Dawson Walton's leadership that the board approved our new, new strategic roadmap and unveiled a new vision statement, new core values, and strategic directions. It is because of this type of solid and intentional infrastructure, I am able to cultivate those meaningful connections and relationships with so many of my scholars. One of our strategic directions is to acknowledge and reduce systemic disparities, barriers, and inequities. Chair Dawson Walton walked this talk. Whether it was during the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd and the killing of Dante Wright, or the uptick in anti-Asian hate, or the long overdue actions needed to protect our LGBTQIA scholars, Chair Dawson Walton centered scholar humanity as she led the board in passing resolutions and policies that aligned with our core values of honor and integrity, belonging, inclusion, and innovation and excellence. When our most minoritized and historically excluded communities are centered and able to thrive, we all benefit. Chair Dawson Walton breathed life into this. To quote the late Senator Wellstone, "We all do better when we all do better." I want to thank Chair Dawson Walton for her unwavering commitment to center and amplify scholar voice and for her support of me as an educator. She walked alongside scholars as they marched to the district office to draw attention to social injustices. She visited my race and culture classes, both while I was in the classroom and in 279 Online, to share her story and to be a mirror for so many of our scholars. When some of our young Black women were feeling invisible and voiceless, she sat with them in my classroom just to listen and to affirm their truths. That is leadership. I would be remiss if I did not take also this opportunity to thank Chair Dawson Walton's family, her husband, her children, and her mother, for sharing her with us these past few years. That is a lot of missed family time. It's a lot of missed activities and a lot of missed sporting events. These sacrifices are not lost on so many of us. And finally, Congressman John Lewis is famously quoted as saying, "Speak up, speak out, get in the way, get in good trouble, necessary trouble." Kelsey, you have done just that. Your brilliance, your passion, your commitment, your sacrifice, and your emotional labor have left an indelible mark on the lives of so many in this district. You are simply spectacular. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I got a special note that called Dr. Heather Hughesby up to speak.
Well, thank you, Chair Walton, Superintendent, and board members. Thank you very much. I haven't done this. I've been retired for a year, so I haven't had experience doing some of this for a long time. I just want to take this time to thank Kelsey for taking on the chairmanship of this district and for being a board member. I want to tell you, Kelsey, that from the heart of being your mother, you've carried on the legacy of your father. And you were raised to believe in education. You were raised, your father always said that education is a way out of poverty. And he told you to believe. And you did that. You've done that, and you're continuing to do this. In the last years, and thank you for your recent, what you just said, she has sacrificed her family. She has sacrificed a lot to do what she's done. I think she's run a race, and she's done it well. She loves this district. She loves her children. She has 4 children. And she does walk the walk, and she's going to continue. This is not the last you've seen of Kelsey Dawson Walton. This is the journey that she's on. Superintendent, she loves you, and she will continue to be your friend and your colleague and your champion. I want to thank you, Kelsey, because your journey will continue. And you had so many phone calls of people that have encouraged you to continue. You are committed. You're dedicated. You are a foot soldier in the process for change. And this is just the beginning of your career for that. And I want to tell you, as a mother, there's nothing that touches my heart more than to see you take the baton from me, take the baton for those that have come before you, the women, the black women, the women, the GLBTQ women, all of the women that have come before you. And you've taken that baton well. And I thank you for that. And I just can't wait to see what's next. And on behalf of your neighborhood that's here, and everyone else, and Asha looks up to you and all of your children. So thank you so much for what you've done.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Our next agenda item is the superintendent's report. Superintendent.
Thank you, Chair Dawson Walton, and good evening, board members. As you know, a regular part of the superintendent's report is to share our points of pride in our district. We have a number of great points of pride tonight. By sharing our points of pride, we take the time to recognize and celebrate scholars, staff, and community members who are contributing to the accomplishment of our mission, which is to inspire and prepare each and every scholar with the confidence, courage, and competence to achieve their dreams, contribute to community, and engage in a lifetime of learning. So tonight I've asked again members of our district cabinet to assist me with some examples from the last few weeks since our last board meeting. So I'm going to start, I believe, with Steve Flisk, Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Schools.
Yes, in the area of achieving dreams, congratulations to the Maple Grove Senior High School football team on their Class 6A state championship. So in case you haven't heard, the team defeated Rosemont 27-10 to be named the state champions. Congratulations to the players and coaches on a great season. Garden City Elementary School recently received a donation of $25,000 from Mortensen Construction. The generous donation was announced at the Trimester Award celebration to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders and their families. Representatives from Mortensen were on site to present Principal David Branch and the students with a big check. According to Principal Branch, scholars and staff will be able to provide feedback on what they would like to use the donated money on. When this was announced, an immediate cheer and call for field trips arose in the students. Garden City also hopes to use the donation money to implement a mobile thinker space that would benefit all students for years to come. CCX Media joined the Park Center Outdoor Adventures class on their recent overnight trip to Baker Park Reserve. Students learned to build an outdoor shelter, make a fire, use a map and compass, and other useful activities. Ninth grader Melissa Chang said, "I really like the outdoor activities in nature, and this was an opportunity to learn new things. It's calm and refreshing and peaceful because we're stuck in the cities with no nature around, so being around nature is refreshing." Orchestra students at Park Center Senior High had the opportunity to attend an open rehearsal at the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra. Featured at this rehearsal was international recording artist and violinist Joshua Bell, who spent time with the students after the rehearsal, meeting with them and answering their questions.
Community-based Vocational Assessment and Training, or CBVAT, recently hosted their winter sale and open house. Members of the community were invited to come and purchase items created by the CBVAT students and to see all of the great work they've done so far this school year. Items for sale included pet toys, centerpieces, greeting cards, gift bags, movie night gift sets, spa gift sets, and tool gift sets. Students in the CBVAT program were present to restock the gifts and to help customers check out. In the area of contributing to community, rain, snow, or shine, the crossing guards at our elementary schools across the district protect our scholars every day, helping them to arrive safely at school and when leaving at the end of the day. Audrey Ventura, a 5th grade crossing guard from Woodland Elementary School, said, "I like to know that people are going to be safe when coming to school. I really enjoy it." In the area of lifelong learning, Osseo Senior High School hosted a art and music career panel. Students had the opportunity to talk to artists and musicians such as a sculptor, piano teacher, and author, and ask them questions about their professions, typical day, challenges, and skills they find useful in their jobs. Weaver Lake, a science, math, and technology school, hosted a STEM in Action night for students to showcase projects that they've been working on this school year to give their parents and caregivers. Scholars have been working on special first value added projects based on what grade level they're in. At the event, students and their parents or caregivers went from classroom to classroom, looking at other students' projects and seeing what lessons they've been learning and what tools they've used.
Birch Grove School for the Arts hosted a family arts night. Scholars and their families were invited to visit the school for fun arts activities. Parents and caregivers moved from classroom to classroom, participating in creative activities that their students do each day. Students at Fair Oaks Elementary School have been celebrating and learning about Hmong New Year. Haley Vang, a teacher at Fair Oaks, has been leading lessons about Hmong New Year in the classroom. Students had the opportunity to enjoy egg rolls and sticky rice during the presentation. Students in social studies classes at Park Center and Osseo Senior High Schools participated in a civics lesson with one of their U.S. representatives. Students learned about who represents them in local, state, and national offices and how the branches of government work. Although there may be snow on the ground, it hasn't stopped the kindergartners at Rush Creek Elementary School from celebrating the fall season with the Fall Festival. Students engaged in many fall-themed activities throughout the morning of the festival in their classrooms, hallways, and cafeteria.
At Enbrook Elementary School, 3rd graders recently performed their fall music program for their fellow classmates in other grades, teachers, and parents and caregivers. It was the school's first live music performance since 2019. Denise Martineau, music specialist at Enbrook Elementary School, said, "It was so fun preparing for this concert with the many different types of music and seeing the smiles on the kids' faces when they learn something new." In the area of mission-driven employees, members of our Human Resources team recently visited substitutes in every building across the district to thank them for all that they do for our students. The substitutes, including teachers, ESPs, RNLPN, school nutrition, and KidStop substitutes, received a gift of popcorn and a coffee mug, and were recognized for their dedication and hard work in supporting our students and staff. Interested in becoming a substitute? Check out our current job openings at district279.org/careers. Osseo ESPs recently completed their annual community service project. For the 5th year, they provided snack bags to houseless scholars to use during winter break. The bags include cereal, oatmeal, soup, hot chocolate, fruit snacks, granola bars, macaroni and cheese, trail mix, beef sticks, applesauce, fruit cups, pudding, cheese and crackers, juice boxes, and more. They stuffed 277 bags that will be distributed to the school social workers across the district. Thank you for what you do to support our scholars.
All right, board members, just a couple reminders before I get to a couple last items. So the deadlines for our 23-24 enrollment options are already here. The first Magnet School Lottery priority application deadline is on December 31st, rapidly approaching. For more information on our magnet schools, please visit district279.org/magnet. 279 Online, a kindergarten through 12th grade online school, is also an option for students throughout the state. More information can be found at district279.org/279online. Two other quick items I want to also raise. I just want to thank the Woodland Elementary Eagle Choir. They came today to the ESC and performed beautifully for us, their winter season performance, and the confidence and amazing voices were here right in the boardroom this morning. Just wanted to acknowledge their wonderful efforts today. And then lastly, to conclude my superintendent's report, I'd like to also take a moment to recognize the departing school board member, Kelsey Dawson-Walton. I'm not going to help with the tears here, Kelsey. I'm sorry about that. And I guess first I'll maybe say it's hard to follow so many heartfelt recognitions of you. You've heard me say, board members, you've heard me say this before. The most visible work of the board and most challenging work often of the board is developing a vision for the district, setting a strategic course of action, deploying resources to accomplish those goals, approving the budgets, determining policy, and providing facilities that are safe and welcoming. Also, assessing results and challenging us to do better and making adjustments to continually improve to meet the educational needs of each and every scholar in our district. However, school board members generally engage in many other activities as well. And those activities include spending time in our schools and building relationships, which Kelsey, with 4 children in our schools, you're constantly doing as a parent. But I also know that you, and I've watched you make that a priority as a school board member. As mentioned earlier, you've given a lot of your time away from your family to being a board member, and during a time where you accomplished a lot. So just to highlight a few things I know you're most proud of, this list is not exhaustive. We'd be here a long time if we went through them all, but just to name a few: the resolution on George Floyd and systemic racism, the new district strategic plan, adding school board representatives to the board, creating a legislative action committee, serving as chair of aerial metro school districts that serve over 40 school districts in the metro and outstate. And as a part of that AMSD group, partnering with the Minnesota State High School League on the Together We Make a Difference statewide initiative, which is going to culminate with Park Center hosting the statewide conference on January 13th. Supporting the development of the Racial Harm Protocol, establishing the Radically Investing in Scholar Excellence Committee, or fondly known as RISE, and the efforts to do more recognitions and celebrations of our scholars by the board, as we witnessed earlier tonight. I have a whole nother list I could go through, but I won't go through all those. I know those were really close to your heart. Most importantly, though, being a school board member involves making really difficult decisions, as you all know. Kelsey, no one could have imagined the kinds of decisions, sometimes impossible decisions, that you and the board have made together, and I've watched you consult with and getting different perspectives from the board, making those very difficult decisions along with working with the administration. To show the far-reaching impact you've had, I've reached out to some of the community members and staff and asked what they appreciated most about your service on the board. And I had a lot of choices. I'm just going to read a few. So from parents, you heard some tonight as well. Kelsey served with advocacy for all scholars with a focus on inclusivity and equity to make all feel safe, welcome, seen, and heard, and that is the most appreciated part. Kelsey worked tirelessly to create ways to prepare our children by supporting learning environments that encourage critical thinking, innovation, collaboration, which are all skills our kids need to navigate life after graduation. She was also a fierce advocate for closing the achievement gap and ensuring that all students have access to a safe, quality education. A couple from our staff. I know they're a little long, but they're worth mentioning. Kelsey has been a steady voice in her role as chair, working to balance the multiple perspectives of staff, community members, and in setting policy in our path moving forward. Kelsey was instrumental in her leadership during the pandemic and balancing all these perspectives with what was best for students. I believe her compass has always been what was in the interest of learning, equity, and safety. Finally, her ethics, professionalism, and approachability was always apparent in her leadership as a board member and as chair. And one last one. Kelsey has led our board and district community through one of the toughest eras in public education. The commitment to keeping students at the center was everything we do was unwavering, even when it was unpopular. We are grateful for her courage to lean into the hard conversations with our leaders and the broader community to advance board policy and resolutions that make visible the intrinsic value of each and every scholar. Her love and care of this district will never be lost on any of us. We wish her the best as she hopefully transitions into other important volunteer opportunities in Osseo area schools, and I know we will see more of you in those opportunities. To wrap up, Kelsey, these examples really demonstrate, and I hope you see it, and I know the other board members will have a moment to weigh in here in a moment, but it demonstrates the impact that you've had on our scholars, their families, our staff, and our community. So I want to say thank you most sincerely for your dedication to those students, families, staff, and residents of Osseo area schools. Thank you for your service. Board members, I just want to create an opportunity for each of you to weigh in if you have any comments to share tonight, since it's a good point in the agenda to do so before we get into our regular business. No pressure, step up.
I'll start. Kelsey, it's been such a privilege to watch you grow from school board member, who I supported in 2018 when I first met you, to see you really rise to the challenge of being board chair and moving our district through some very difficult times. You are a warm and inviting leader that listens to multiple perspectives, but I think your real legacy will be leading with your heart. And I don't mean legacy because she's not done yet, but like for this piece of your path, leading with your heart. And I really hope that as a board, all of us can continue that legacy as a fierce advocate for students, all the students, each and every student. And that has meant moving us through a COVID pandemic, the death, the murder of George Floyd. You have been a champion of equity work, not just as part of our strategic plan for this district, but also in our broader community and in the state, about pushing back against racism and really making sure that everybody feels heard and safe, even though we are far from that ideal. I always will love you and support and appreciate your support for LGBTQ scholars like my kids. And I know that that was a learning curve for everybody, and really, again, leading with your heart. For the most important thing is making sure that each and every scholar feels heard and feels safe and welcome in the Osseo School District. And I am so proud to have worked with you. I am proud to call you my friend, and I hope and I know we will be working together on things in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. Thank you.
I can go next. Kelsey, I've really appreciated your passion, dedication, and commitment to the work of the district, to all of the scholars of the district these past 4 years and in your role as chair. And I wish you all of the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Tanya.
I'll go. Well, there isn't a lot that I can say that hasn't already been said. But as a friend, a colleague, and someone with a very similar life experience, I feel like it's been really amazing to work together through challenges, lots of challenges we've had to overcome together, and also great work. We've done a lot of great work together, and I'm truly blessed to be able to have done that work with you, as well as the other board colleagues. And I also really, I think a couple people already said it, but your family. I really want to offer thanks to your family, Mike and the kids, because I know, and I know my kids know, the sacrifice that your family has had to make in order for you to be a voice for other people's families. And it is really challenging as a mother, especially of younger children, to be able to commit to the district the way that you have. And so I just want to say I really appreciate that. And I know that our community appreciates the sacrifices that you and your family have made to move things forward in our district. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather.
It feels like I'm saying goodbye, but I know you're not going anywhere. So, you know, you stepped up to lead this district at a time when most, for very good reason, wouldn't. And it's been really cool having a front row seat to see you grow into your role as chair. Your leadership is something that I have admired since my start on this board. And one of the things that I've admired most, especially as a parent in the district, is that no matter how contentious or divisive the issue or the discussion, you always use your role as chair to bring it back to the kids. Whether it was reciting our mission statement or strategic directions that we all worked really hard on, you always brought it back. And so that is something that I will forever miss, but also I think a skill and a technique that is forever going to be ingrained in my mind. With that said, I very much hope to continue working with you. I know that this won't be the last time that I'll see you, so I don't really want to give a goodbye speech.
No,
But,
you don't have to give a goodbye.
but yeah, I just really want to say thank you for all of the work that you've accomplished on behalf of our scholars and our district. Just listening to the list that the superintendent just read, which didn't include everything. You've been busy. And not a lot can say that they've accomplished so much in such a short period of time. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, Thomas.
I had to write it down. Otherwise. Kelsey, it has been one of the biggest honors of my entire life, serving on the board with you. One of the first things you told me about when we met was how your father was such a champion for education, and that your goal was to be part of his legacy. And you did it. You rocked it. He's very proud of you, as your mom is, and your entire family. You've definitely carried that legacy and your work here and in so many other avenues. You've led this district through many extremely difficult events with grace, passion, and strength. You have always put scholars front and center, making decisions that unleash their individual brilliance. Your work with equity, ensuring that every single student is seen, heard, and celebrated for who they are, is the foundation of an amazing strategic plan. Thank you for that. This plan exemplifies your vision for academic excellence through equity and welcoming schools. I could spend so much time listing your amazing accomplishments and skills in leading this district. Instead, I want to echo all the amazing emails we received, all the amazing things that people have said here tonight. And I just want to say thank you, and I wish thank you was enough. I know how difficult these last 4 years have been. You've been my rock through it all. You've been the rock for this district. Your dedication, courage, and sacrifices are greatly appreciated. Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay, I just gonna say one thing. I'm sorry. I know we've taken a lot of time. I'm so sorry to my colleagues, but when I was in college, there's this quote that has always stuck with me when I think about where I wanted to be in life, and it was Audre Lorde. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it'll become less and less important whether I'm afraid. And this journey has. I started out as many of my colleagues because I wanted something more for my kids. I wanted to be more involved for my own kids, and it quickly evolved into probably one of the most humbling experiences that I've had in my life. I look at our educators, and I think I've said this in a couple of our different meetings, learning leaders, of just like, I have never seen, it's such a calling to be in the field of education, and all levels, whether it's a custodian, nutrition services, the cabinet level, kind of throughout it all. I mean, it's a true calling, and I've just been so fortunate to really see that. And I'm just grateful for, as we all said, I mean, it's been a huge sacrifice for my family. I always tease, I would tell Corey, I'm like, I don't know what's going on with my own kids sometimes because I'm like, I'm there, and they couldn't be here tonight because of different activities. But I just want to say, for me, the heart has been serving our scholars, and, I look at the future of our scholars, each and every one, and that really resting in that integrity, authenticity, and the vision and passion, and that inclusive mindset that we as a school district community, whether you're on the board or a parent or living in our community or have a business, that's what we need to be doing and advocating for our kids. And I think for me, I mean, this is definitely not a goodbye. I mean, I always tell everybody, I think every time I have 4 kids in this district, I'm very committed. But I just thank you all for all your kind words, and now we can move on with the agenda. Thank you. And thank you guys for being here tonight. Okay. Our next agenda item is school board reports. Director Douglas, do you have a reporter update?
DPAC did meet last night. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend. Jackie, do you want to take that? Okay. And the Legislative Action Committee meeting was moved, so I don't have a report for that. I don't think I have any reports. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Director Brooks.
I am going to read the policy committee report.
Okay.
The school board policy committee met at the Osseo Area Learning Center at 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, December 6th. Board members Thomas Brooks, Tamara Grady, and Tanya Simons attended. Also participating were Superintendent Corey McIntyre, Director of Food and Nutrition Services Jeff Ansorge, and General Counsel Tim Palmatier. During the meeting, the committee discussed the following policies: Policy 544, school meals; Policy 722, public data and data subject requests; Policy 209, school board standards. Development of a new meals policy. Policy 544 was under consideration due to recent changes to state law that require school boards to adopt such a policy. The committee considered and discussed the proposal policy, which addresses provisions of meals to students qualifying for free and reduced lunch, collection of unpaid meal debts, and requirements the staff protect the dignity of students with unpaid meal debts. The committee agreed with the adoption of the proposed policy and agreed to move it to first reading at tonight's meeting. The committee also discussed the development of Policy 722, public data and data subject requests. While Minnesota statute specifically requires adoption of a policy that addresses access to public data and the rights of a data subject to obtain private data concerning themselves, the district does not currently have a policy specifically addressing these requests. The proposed policy considered by the committee was drawn from MSBA model policies and was recommended by General Counsel. After proposing some minor modifications, the committee moved the proposed policy to first reading at tonight's board meeting. Finally, the committee discussed potential revision to Policy 209 concerning school board standards. Specifically, the committee reviewed policies from other Minnesota school districts that address potential consequences when a board member does not comply with applicable expectations. The committee requested that General Counsel revise the policy drawing on specific components of the sample policies reviewed and agreed that the policy will be again discussed at the next policy committee meeting. The next policy committee meeting is scheduled to be held at the ESC on Tuesday, March 7th at 4:30 p.m. Policy committee meetings are open to the public and community members are encouraged to attend. Done.
Good job, Thomas. Director Mosqueda Jones.
Shortest reports ever. Sorry, my phone went. For District 287, we were presented with the unofficial audit for the budget. That should be presented soon with a clean report. And then we got to meet the new Director of Equity and Inclusion, Kiara Zachary. She comes to us from Golden Valley. And then last night DPAC met, and they spent the first meeting brainstorming topics to talk about. And so last night they narrowed down the topics and combined them to go into separate committees.
Okay, thank you. Director Simons.
So the ECMAC committee met last night. That's the Enrollment and Capacity Committee, and we reviewed in depth a number of detailed projections of the different by site capacity, with some schools being under capacity, others being over capacity. So we really dug into that and had some good assessment and observations on that data. And then we also discussed the process for Building a Better Future Phase 2, which has been discussed in the past at the different referendum meetings and in different ECMAC updates. And so we had to review that process, all of the different study teams that have been participating, some of the advisory committee work. There'll be proposed facility recommendations. We actually had reviewed some of those in the past couple of years as well, so it's been a multi-year effort. So what type of needs do we have for facilities across the district? What type of actions might need to be taken regarding needs for accommodating the growth in our district, and what type of programming, which will be not by ECMAC. ECMAC just looks at the capacity and the options there, but with some of the different teams looking at potential programming that would help with under capacity question and what to do to help solve that challenge. So reviewed that process and ECMAC's role in it, and there's going to be a lot of data. It's not yet published to the advisory committee page. It was just last night, so that will be coming. So for those in the community interested in following that topic, all of the agendas, all of the details are published online. And the other thing I just did want to mention was that last week there was in Brooklyn Park a community forum on youth violence, and I attended that along with our Director of Equity, Dwayne Wardley, and so that was a really impactful and insightful meeting. It's just the first of multiple, so I'd really encourage board members and the community to watch for that and consider attending and participating in those forums as more come forward. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Brady.
No updates tonight. Thank you.
All right. The only one I have is I attended my final of the year AMSD meeting, and so they approved the legislative platform, which is good, and they have a session coming up, the legislative session on January 6th. And then as Corey mentioned, that the Together We Make a Difference is going to be, conference will be January 13th at Park Center, so it's very exciting, so we spent a lot of time there. And then Director Brooks will be taking over on the executive committee on that for AMSD. So, all right. Our presentation this evening is the monitoring report for Strategic Direction D initiatives, shared by Brian Bass, Assistant Superintendent of Equity and Achievement, and Robin Gonzalez, Director of Learning and Achievement.
Okay, do you have a clicker?
All right, thank you. Good evening, Chair Dawson Walton, members of the board, Superintendent McIntyre, members of our community, good evening. It is with continued enthusiasm that we present our second vision card of the school year, Strategic Direction D. Strategic Direction D states, create a system of operational innovation, excellence, accountability, and sustainability. Whoops. Thank you. And trying to get us moving along here. Thank you, Robin. As mentioned at the board work session last Tuesday, this is our baseline year for each of our vision cards. This card, as our previous one, is a work in progress. The card represents collaboration and substantial thinking for determining metrics for a system-wide context. Joining me tonight are Executive Director of Technology, Anthony Paternis, and our Director of Learning and Achievement, Robin Gonzalez. I want to also acknowledge the work of our Vision Card Steering Committee members and our Executive Director of Finance and Operation, along with several key staff members from his area, in helping us identify key metrics. Our presentation outcomes for this evening: school board members will receive information on the baseline data for the high priority initiatives for Strategic Direction D. They'll also understand the alignment of the operational plan to the vision card data collection. We have decided as a system that vision cards will serve as critical data points toward the realization of the desired daily experience for our students, staff, and families. Vision cards measure the district's success in achieving the strategic directions. They provide the data to support and assess the district's progress toward the narrative vision outlined in our strategic plan. Vision cards set the ongoing district goals for performance and continuous improvement. On this slide, you will see the learning work initiatives and implementation work initiatives that are on the district's 3-year operational plan and align with Strategic Direction D. Tonight, we will touch on the 4 indicators that are currently on the vision card for Strategic Direction D. They include the following: D1, organizational continuous improvement; D2, equitable resource allocation review; D3, student developmental skills and supports; and D4, achieve dreams, teaching, learning, and trust in the district. These indicators were written at the very beginning of the development of the strategic directions and are a starting point for this vision card. As we continue to research how to better measure Strategic Direction D, we will work with our partners from TeamWorks International to look closely at the indicators to ensure that they represent what we as a system are looking for. We also want to thank you, the board, for your feedback from last Tuesday's board work session. Our goal is to make our efforts towards the realization of Strategic Direction D transparent and measurable. We are sharing this graphic again, you've seen this in several presentations, with you as a way of framing the data that we will see tonight. It's satellite data that will provide baseline data for the indicators, but it will not provide us with the details. All of the data that we are sharing tonight will also be shared with building and department leaders. We will support sites in digging deeper to understand what this data means to their work at each of their sites and departments. At this time, I'll invite our Director of Learning Achievement, Robin Gonzalez, to proceed with our first indicator, organizational continuous improvement.
Good evening. As Brian said, our first indicator is called Organizational Continuous Improvements. This is a process indicator, which means we are describing the adult actions that are designed to help students accomplish the mission. To measure our progress on this indicator, we will use 6 measures. The first measure is from our staff stakeholder survey, which we have administered annually since 2014, but did not administer in 2021 due to the pandemic. One of the scales or groups of questions on the staff stakeholder survey is the teaching and learning scale. These questions were asked of staff who indicated on the survey that they were teachers. The measure was the percentage of teachers responding strongly agree or agree. On this slide, we are looking at the teacher perceptions of teaching and learning broken down by grade range. Important to note in the responses is that teachers working at special education sites such as the CBVAT and OEC responded with lower than average agreement on the teaching and learning scale in the spring of 2019, but this increased by 10% in 2020 and almost 40% in 2022. Similarly, teachers at adult learning sites, Adult Basic Education and Osseo Area Learning Center, had perceptions of teaching and learning in 2022 that increased by more than 10% each of the past 2 survey administrations. Anthony Paternos will speak to the next 2 data sources.
Good evening, board members, Osseo team, and community. Technology is an integral part of our organization's work, from instruction to operations. Vision Card D reviews our strategic technology work through the aspect of operational continuous improvement. Two key areas that align this work and have initiatives in the board's 3-year operational plan are cybersecurity and the delivery of technology services, or IT operations. These two areas are critical to ensure our students have the technical resources in a safe digital environment to actualize their daily lived experience. Cybersecurity, or information security, is managing risks to the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information using administrative, physical, and technical controls. Mitigating cyber threats consists of technical solutions and building a culture around cyber awareness, and the human element is the greatest threat to all organizations. ASIO has been taking great strides in improving our cybersecurity posture by implementing several strategies. The metrics provided in the vision card are the current data elements that we are utilizing to understand the impact of our strategic work around cybersecurity. The monitoring report that was discussed at last week's work session provides greater detail around each of these data points. The first metric is our ongoing phishing assessment score. This metric allows us to understand the efforts and strategies that have been implemented around organizational training, awareness, and response to potential threats that come through our email system. Last school year, as noted by the 7.5%, we saw a slight increase from the previous year. However, it is a significant decrease from our first assessment in the 1920 school year. Our second security metric comes from our Filter Ed IT governance assessment. This is an annual self-assessment that is completed by our digital security team and measures our progress on implementing system structures and policies towards practices that create a strong cybersecurity posture. Our score for the 21-22 school year was an improvement from the previous year at 4.3. As noted in the monitoring report, our scores on this assessment continues to outperform state average for other Minnesota school districts who utilize this assessment. The last cybersecurity metric is our Microsoft Secure score. The score is a real-time metric that is provided on a scale of 0 to 100. Our score as of November 28th is 54.7 and is higher than benchmark organizations. These are organizations that are similar to ASIO area schools. A score greater than 50 indicates an organization is moving in the right direction with their cyber maturity and technical controls. Our second area is IT operations. IT operations is our organization's ability to deliver technology resources, services, and supports to ensure we function from classroom to operations. To measure our effectiveness of delivering high levels of IT operations, two metrics have been utilized as we review service structures and organizational needs in technology. The first metric is our KPI, or Key Performance Indicators, which is an internal measure of our team's ability to provide service and support of our technology resources. For this report, we are utilizing the overall average response time in hours to technology incidents, which is inclusive of all priority statuses. Our average overall response time for the 21-22 school year was 250 hours and was an improvement from the previous year by a decrease in 96 hours. As a note, our current data collection does not take into account business hours and non-operational days, so weekends and district closure hours are included in this at the moment. The second operations metric is the Filter Ed operations score. 3 of the 6 domains are used for this report: leadership and vision, technology infrastructure, and resources. The metric for this report uses the average of the capacity percentage from the 3 identified domains. In the 21-22 school year, we had reached a 78% average capacity score between the 3 operations domains, which is an increase from the 19-20 school year. Our score continues to remain above state and national scores of participating K-12 districts. I'll now turn it back over to Robin to go over the additional metrics.
On to the second indicator for Vision Card D. On this indicator is called Equitable Resource Allocation. This is another process indicator designed to describe adult actions being implemented to impact student outcomes. Our first measure is the Strategic System Snapshot from Education Resource Strategies. We will administer this 10-minute survey to multiple stakeholder groups in early this spring, and include the results in our next Vision Card D. Our second measure is a question from the econometric survey, which also provided some data reported on Vision Card E. In the next two slides, we will take a closer look at both of these measures. Strategic System Snapshot is a quick self-assessment that provides information to help understand how well resources, including people, time, and money, are used across the district, and whether the central office or schools have the enabling conditions to help all students reach high standards. The second metric within this indicator is a survey item taken from the econometric survey. The question states, in my organization, resources are dedicated to improving diversity, equity, inclusion, and cultural competency. Respondents selected a response between 1 and 10 to answer the questions, with 1 through 6 ranging from disagree to neutral, 7 to 8 representing agree, and 9 to 10 representing strongly agree. 9 to 10 representing strongly agree. The percentages of agree and strongly agree have been combined for use in this indicator. In 2021-22 survey, the percentage of staff agreeing strongly with the statement was 61%, which is down from 68% in the 2021 school year. Our third indicator is student developmental skills and supports. This is an outcome measure that looks at student data. As part of our current theory of action, we believe that if adult actions in our process indicators are being implemented with fidelity, we can expect to observe strong results for student outcomes. The data on this slide looks at the results from the Minnesota Student Survey, which is a survey that is administered every 3 years to grades 5, 8, 9, and 11. You will see that this indicator has two metrics: developmental skills and developmental supports. These two categories come from the analysis of the Minnesota Student Survey data that is conducted by the Minnesota Youth Development Research Group at the University of Minnesota. Developmental skills measure the students' commitment to learning, their positive identity and outlook, and their social competence. Developmental supports measures to what extent our students feel empowered, and whether or not they feel they have family and community support and teacher and school support. We believe that these qualities are prerequisites for excellence in our students. The questions that were asked on the survey that align to the student developmental skills and supports are included in the monitoring report that you have in your board packet. The tables on this slide show the index score from 2016, 2019, and 2022. You'll see the results grouped by grade level and gender. The average to the very right is the median of all student groups. One thing to notice is that each year, 5th grade females had the highest perceived developmental skills and developmental supports. Our fourth indicator is called Achieving Dreams, Lifelong Learning, Classroom Learning, Teaching, and Trust in the School District. This is an outcome indicator telling us how our customers are perceiving our work. For this indicator, we start with 4 scales or groups of questions from the Student Stakeholder Survey. For each question, students could respond yes always, no never, mostly yes, mostly no, or maybe sometimes. The percentage of students responding yes always or mostly yes is referred to as the percent positive. And this will be the percentage we will report for these 4 scales. When looking just at the 3 years in which the survey was administered, before and after the pandemic, we can see that our students were the most positive about their achieved dreams and lifelong learning scales in 2018-19 school year. But they were most positive about classroom learning and teaching in the 2021-22 school year. On this chart, you'll receive the details behind one of the scales. The other scales are included in the monitoring report that you have this evening. You can see all of the charts, in the monitoring report. In each of these charts, we added reference lines. The green line is 4% above the 3-year average, and the orange line is 4% below the 3-year average. Here we are looking at students' percent positive on the Achieve Dreams scale. We can note that students identifying as Black had above average perceptions of achieving dreams in 2019 and 2020 and were above the average of all other groups in 2022. Additionally, a family stakeholder survey scale was used for this indicator. The scale is called Innovation, Excellence, Accountability, and Sustainability. And the questions included are as follows. My scholars provided with the appropriate materials they need to learn. My scholars provided with the appropriate technology they need to learn. School staff have helped my scholars set goals for the future. My scholars' school works to prepare them for the future. Families who received this survey could respond to these questions by selecting never, not often, sometimes, often, or always. The percentage reporting is the rate resulting from combining the two most positive responses, often and always, averaged across all 4 questions. The question with the highest percent positive was my scholar is provided with the appropriate technology they need to learn, which was at 93%. This chart shows the scale percentages segmented by student race and ethnicity group. The 6 typically reported racial categories are further segmented by student home language into ethnic categories to provide better insight into and give voices to families within our district that we do not often hear from. We can see that families who speak East African or West African languages in the home had the highest ratings overall. This is part of a bigger pattern because in each racial group, non-English speaking families were more positive than English speaking families. And moving on to our next steps. As we continue to engage in our learning work of creating vision cards and aligning data sources, we continue to seek feedback to ensure that we are representing the intent of the strategic direction. We'll continue to adjust our data sources to provide transparent measurement of our work towards achieving the goals. And we'll continue to research how we include additional data that provides greater context, is asset-based, and humanizes our scholars' learning experiences. We are in the process right now of populating Vision Card C for sharing with you at the next work session in February. All right. All of a sudden I was thinking January. I think that's too close. So thank you. We are open for any questions or comments.
All right. We did spend our last work session really diving in. So does anybody have anything, any questions, or were you going to say something?
Once you're done.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you for all the work. This stuff looks so good, and I am so happy to see the structure built and the infrastructure coming through, and really looking forward to seeing the results on our students' daily lived experience. Thank you for all of your hard work.
Yes, so it was just a week ago that we really dug in. So as Director Dawson Walton said, I think there was a lot of rich conversation in that particular meeting. And for reference, so you mentioned the monitoring report. So for the public, that is something that's available on our agenda website. So if you would like to go in and be able to see that in more depth and detail and go back and listen to the work session, that's also recorded. And there's just a lot of good conversation and insights from that meeting. And again, really great system that we've set up here now for monitoring, the detailed report that allows us to really prepare for the work sessions and the board meetings, and then the summarized presentation. Those are really great elements, and I think is working well in that structure. Appreciate it.
I just want to say once again, I'm super excited about the ERS Strategic System Snapshot. And we just don't have a really good amount of data for equitable resource allocation, so I'm looking forward to seeing what results we get, and to see in a year from now what the results are, and breaking it down by race and language, et cetera. So thank you.
As my colleagues have said, there's not really a lot of questions because we did have really good conversation. I appreciate how you pared it down a little bit, so if anybody really is interested in the deeper conversation, please refer to that work session because the presentation was more substantial as well as the conversation around it. But I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the work that's gone into this and preparing it and presenting it in a way that is clear and easy to understand. And I think the data is a good baseline starting point as we move forward with this work. It's good to know where we are, where we've been, and I'm looking forward to where we're going. Anything?
Thank you as well. Again, not a whole lot to add, given that we just had a work session, but to Director Douglas's point, we have more scorecards coming up, and that's where the discussion happens, is in those work sessions. They're not always live streamed, so hope to see you there.
And I just would add that, it does add, what we've been wanting is just accountability of, where we kind of set forth this direction and these priorities, and then, then what happens, and so this really provides that in a way that's really transparent, and it's consistent, we're always kind of getting updated on it, so it's really helpful.
I think Director Simon's read my notes, so just a couple highlights. Yes, the deeper analysis in that monitoring report, and also as we're getting into this rhythm and taking the 5 strategic directions throughout the course of the year, and really relying on your feedback in those work sessions. So I wanted to say thank you to the board for that rich conversation, that then hopefully you see the adjustments being made as we bring that forward to the regular meeting. So this is 2 out of 5, so we'll tackle number 3 in February. And I wanted to say thank you to the hard work done by our team again. So thank you so much.
Right. Thank you. Next agenda item is the consent agenda. Board members, are there any items that you would like to remove for separate consideration? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Director Douglas, second by Director Mosqueda-Jones. Any discussion? I just think there's a lot of grants in here, mental health, school safety, and I'm just looking at that, they're huge, like 800,000, and then going to the schools. Anyways, it's huge around school safety and mental health, so that's gonna really pull us forward. So, all right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion passes 6-0. Okay, our first action item is this evening, the 2022 payable 2023 levy limitation certification. John Morstead, Executive Director of Finance and Operations, will share more information.
Thank you, Chair Dawson Walton, Superintendent McIntyre, and school board members. So as mentioned in our Truth in Taxation presentation earlier this evening, the proposed tax levy for Osseo area schools for taxes payable in 2023 and for our district's 24 fiscal year is $124,891,759.64, which is a 22.28% increase from taxes payable in 22. Overall increase in this levy is primarily due to the increased levy authority granted to us by our voters in November. Again, a grateful thank you to the voters for that. With the passage of the operating and capital projects levies, along with inflation adjustments and corrections and adjustments from to actual from other years, administration recommends approval of the pay 2023 levy at $124,891,759.64.
Is there a motion to approve the 2022 payable 2023 levy limitation certification?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion by Director Brooks, seconded by Director Grady. Any discussion?
I just want to say I really appreciate the detailed presentation earlier. And I do have a question. Will you be posting that to the website under fiscal responsibility where our other documents are?
Yes.
Okay. And so for those interested in seeing more information, all of that is on the district website under Info Center Fiscal Responsibility, and that's where our budget process is, our audit reports. There's a lot of additional information out there that folks can reference as to the transparency on our spending and funding.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. Next action item is the 2023 legislative platform. John Morrison.
I'm back. The platform document is the tool that the district uses to communicate to legislators and other stakeholders the priorities that have been identified to further the school district's mission. School board members reviewed the draft platform at the December 6, 2022 work session, and feedback from that meeting was integrated into the final platform that is proposed in your packets today. While the document is specific to the needs of Osseo area schools, the items also align with other major educational groups, including AMSD, MSBA, MASA, and MASBO. With that, administration recommends the approval of the legislative platform as proposed.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the 2023 legislative platform?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Director Grady, second by Director Mosqueda-Jones. Any discussion?
Again, we looked at this at the last work sessions.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So yeah, we did look at it in depth, and at that time, there was some input from board members specifically on replacing the MCA exam. So that was incorporated. I see that that's updated to be replace MCA exam with a more instructionally relevant measurement. So that was updated. In the work session, I did express reservation under the stable, predictable funding. It's the last bullet point, allow school boards to renew existing levies that have been approved by voters without additional elections. So that would mean that when voters approve a levy, they're essentially approving it in perpetuity if the board votes to renew that. So it will not go back to the voters for renewal. We discussed that if there was going to be an increase, not just a straight renewal, that would need to go back to the voters. So that is something that I continue to feel that we would need to have broader input from our stakeholders before advocating for that at the state legislature or with our legislators representing us. So I continue to have reservation on that. However, I do support all of the other items that are in, well, the majority of the other items. I think supporting all students by providing universal free meals. I think, again, that's something that not all stakeholders may have a consistent perspective on in our district. So I think that's something that we should be more mindful of. But because of the other items in here that I do generally support the overall platform, I will be supporting it tonight, but I do want to express reservation on some items in that priority list.
Could you clarify which items that you feel concerned about?
Yeah,
Did I miss that?
Yeah, I said the renew existing levies, but that have been previously approved by voters without additional election, and supporting all students by providing universal free meals.
You don't support universal free meals?
I think that that's something that should have more input before we as a board advocate for that on behalf of taxpayers and stakeholders.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
And board members, I can maybe weigh in here. There was good discussion last week in the work session, and I think with the platform, these are conversation starters for us, right? So what we are really challenged to do, and it's our responsibility to do, is tell our story to our legislators, but what that means in our district. And for example, with the renewal of existing levies, the board wouldn't act if you're always taking the pulse of our communities. So even if that became a legislative change, you're still going to be surveying and listening and really getting the pulse of our communities and whether there be support for that before you would make any local decision. I think we've seen the high percentage of renewals, especially the operating levies. So I think, and we have a lot of other legislative priorities that weren't on here, but we really tried to center in maybe the most impactful ones as we can begin those conversations and have a lot of times our conversations with legislators are quick. We need a quick reference set of materials just to get, catch their interest. And I know we're all looking forward to the January 9th opportunity to meet with our legislators here locally. I think at Rice Lake is what we're planning for, to have more conversation and share our priorities along with what their priorities might be. A number of new legislators as well. So that's going to be here before you know it. Right after winter break, we're going to have that opportunity to talk with them more. So your action tonight helps us put some pieces in place to continue that conversation as the new session starts. So I appreciate John's extra work in making the adjustments that you discussed last Tuesday.
I also would like to just address, we have a legislative action committee, and that is their real focus, is to bring forth a legislative platform that's representative of our district. And I would say with the levy, it is very consistent with other school districts through AMSD. And one of the things that we know with our legislature is that we have to, there are times when we need to have really be specific to our district, but also to move things through. We collectively advocate and lobby for what's really best for all of our districts together. I would say with the universal meals, I mean, that is such a huge piece of our equity situation that we have going on. If you don't have food, and if you're hungry, you're not gonna learn. I mean, that's the bottom line. So to me, it's somewhat of a no-brainer. But I would like to.
Chair Dawson Walton, one more comment. I would just, since Kelly's in the room, I want to thank Kelly Wilson for a lot of things we can partner with our Education Minnesota colleagues and leverage the strength of those platform items. So where we see alignment, we've already started talking about where there's items of alignment, and I know there's been times in the past where the board, the administration, and EMO have worked in partnership to really have influence at the state level. So thank you, Kelly, for always leaning in with us on those priorities.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
I was going to make a comment.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to echo Director Tanya Simon's comments. I share some of her concerns, but I really appreciate the conversation that we've had around this and the clarification from Superintendent McIntyre about, particularly around the fact that even if the legislation approves adding the allowance for school boards to renew levies, that doesn't mean that we have to participate in that, and that we'll continue to work to do what's best for our community. So I just wanted to say I really appreciate that acknowledgement and that piece of additional information. This isn't saying that we intend to do this. So I just wanted to echo that.
Okay. Thomas or Director Brooks or Dr. Mosqueda Jones, do you have anything else?
Ready to vote?
Ready to roll? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. Next action item is a recommendation for approval of the agreement on the terms and conditions of employment with New School Nutrition. Information will be shared by Laurel Anderson, Executive Director of Human Resources.
Good evening, Chair Dawson Walton, school board members, and Superintendent McIntyre. On the agenda this evening for school board action is a recommendation for approval of the School Nutrition Association contract. The School Nutrition Association represents a group of 114 employees comprised of managers, assistant managers, and nutrition assistants. This contract expired on June 30th, 2022, and the new agreement contains language changes that reflect current district practices, as well as additional provisions that serve to support our district and mission and strategic priorities, specifically the recruitment and retention of employees. Some specific changes include, in the basic schedules and rates of pay section, the grid was collapsed from 6 steps to 5 steps for several positions, and longevity was removed from the grid. In addition, the lead cashier positions were eliminated and staff were placed in School Nutrition Association positions. In the retirement savings section, there is no longer a waiting period for the employer match for the retirement savings plan. In the group benefits and insurance section, there were no changes to the district monthly contribution towards health insurance. School board members have had the opportunity to review the proposed changes to the provisions contained in the terms and conditions, to ask questions, and to consider financial implications. Additional details of contract changes are outlined in the board memo included in your packet this evening. The new contract provisions fall within the financial parameters set by the board for the 2022-2024 contract term. It is the superintendent's and my recommendation that you approve the School Nutrition Association contract presented to you this evening. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the agreement on the terms and conditions of employment between the Independent School District 279 School Board and School Nutrition July 1st, 2022 to June 30, 2024?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion by Director Mosqueda Jones, seconded by Director Douglas. Any discussion? Yay. That's exciting. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, motion passes 6-0. Final action item is gifts to the district. Is there a motion to approve gifts to the district totaling $37,583.15?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Director Brooks, seconded by Director Simons. Any discussion? Just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. Next on the agenda is informational items. General Counsel Tim Palmetier will share information on the first reading of Policy 544, School Meals, and Policy 722, Public Data and Data Subject Requests.
Thank you, Chair Dawson Walton, school board members, and Superintendent McIntyre. As stated, there are two policies on the agenda for first reading tonight. Policy 544 concerning school meals and Policy 722 concerning public data and data subject requests. Director Brooks, I apologize for providing such a lengthy description of the policy committee meeting. I could make it sound so much more exciting next time. I'll try. But nevertheless, Policy 544, this is a new policy that is required by recent changes to state law. So pursuant to Minnesota Statute 124D.111, school districts are now required to have a policy that addresses the provisions of meals to students qualifying for free and reduced lunch, the collection of unpaid meal debts, and that includes requirements that staff protect the dignity of students by not shaming or ostracizing those with unpaid meal debts. The proposed policy includes all of the requirements of the newly enacted law and is consistent with model MSBA policy on this topic. In addition, the new policy significantly reflects our current practices and efforts not to stigmatize students with unpaid lunch balances. It was very nice to hear Director Onsorge talk about how we support students and maybe kind of anticipated a lot of the changes that were made to the law actually before it was put into place. So, and then with respect to Policy 722, Public Data and Data Subject Requests, this is a new proposed policy that provides specific requirements for making and responding to both public and private data requests. The district does not currently have a policy specifically related to such requests, even though such a policy is required by Minnesota statute. The new policy, which is based off of MSBA's model policy, sets forth requirements for requesting and responding to requests for public data, summary data, private data where the subject of the data is requesting the information, and private data where the subject is requesting the information. The proposed policy also sets forth the costs that can be required by the district in responding to both public and private data requests as well as summary data requests. The proposed policy reflects the requirements of the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act and corresponding Minnesota rules. First reading begins a 4-week period for reaction to the proposed policies by concerned groups or individuals. After the 4-week period, the school board may adopt these revised policies after their second reading. The proposed revisions to these policies are available on the school district website with the agenda for this meeting. Comments on the policy discussed here tonight may be directed to the school board or to myself. Comments on these policies may also be provided online through the school board policies and procedures webpage located on the district website.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:17 p.m.?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
How long do you guys want to here? All right, motion by Director Douglas, seconded by Director Simons. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.